Welcome back to another episode of Bassing with Captain Lou. Today's video is all about bite detection. So if you want to learn how to detect those minute little bites to bring some more bass and peacock bass to the boat, stick around because I'm going to share some of the stuff that's worked for me in the past. Okay, so bite detection. Why do I bring up this topic? Again, understand that these videos are for people who have just moved to the area or are new to bass fishing and have wanted to fish the Everglades for a very long time, and now they have the opportunity and they want to know how to fish it effectively and how to get these bass and peacock bass to the boat. Like I mentioned before, and the reason why I was off camera, I keep saying these in my videos, is because I had a great run with several subscribers and we had several guide trips. And one thing that I kept noticing as we were fishing and having a great time was bite detection. I would see the client cast, I would see the bite, I would see the line move, but the client never felt the bite, never even saw the bite. By the time I tell them to set the hook, they're like, what are you talking about? Is there a fish? By the time they reacted, it was too late. The fish already spit the lure or the bait out, and they missed an opportunity on a nice peacock or a nice bass just because they never detected it. So the purpose of this video is going to be all about bite detection. You see, bite detection comes in several forms. You could see it, you could feel it. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to bite detection, I'm going to go ahead and explain more along the lines of bite detection when you're doing bottom type of contact fishing. Because we know about bite detection when we start fishing top water lures or stuff like that. You see the explosion, you see the swirl, you see the fish take the bait. But a lot of the issues that I encountered was with the client not being able to detect the bite when the lure was under the water. So stick around. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty fun video. So bite detection. Some fishing lines transmit bites better than others. For example, the number one line, in my opinion, that transmits the bite better is braid. I mean, you could feel a tap from a mile away when you utilize braid. When you get experienced enough, you could also feel it with mono too, but the tap is a little bit different. But in today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating bite detection fishing with the Fluke and fishing with monofilament line. Now, when it comes to bite detection, it's how you set yourself up. And I'm going to go ahead and explain that now. So bite detection begins right at the cast. What do I mean by that? Don't worry, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I mean, but I'm going to do my best to explain to you guys. What you're going to first do is starts at the cast. You're going to go ahead and cast your bait out there. In this case, I'm fishing a weightless Fluke. As soon as the bait, there's a bite. Oh boy. Just like that, guys. Hold on, let me get this bass off. So the hook detached from the bass, and now the bass is hooked between the pad. You can't make this up on camera. Okay, so I'm gonna try this again and talk to you guys as I'm rigging my Fluke. I don't want to be interrupted as I'm trying to explain bite detection and then the bass hits. So, like I was explaining, your chances of detecting the bite starts initially from at the cast. Meaning, when you go ahead and cast, don't worry, I'm going to show this stuff all on B-roll. But when you go ahead and make your initial cast, in this case, keep in mind, I am fishing with a weightless Fluke, okay? I don't need my Fluke to sink to the bottom. So when my Fluke, in this case, touches the water, I'm engaging my spool. Right away, I'm watching my line. I'm watching and I'm feeling. You see, when you cast a weightless lure or a weightless bait, like in this case, a Fluke, the line is going to basically sit on top of the water for a certain amount of time, and then the weight of the plastic and the hook are going to take effect and the weight's going to start sinking very slowly down in the water column. In that case, you got to take a very careful note to learn the sink rate of that lure, or in this case, the sink rate of that Fluke. I fish this type of technique a lot. I know the sink rate. So if my sink rate changes at a faster rate, meaning that bait is dropping or changing its rate of descent, that's a bite. Okay? I don't need the double check. I know it's a bite because, again, I'm so well versed in that bite in the sink rate that I know that bass took that, or that peacock took that bait. I go ahead and reel in the slack and I set the hook. Now, the other thing that I'm checking for is, let's say that the bait is going slowly down the water column. I know the type of vegetation I'm fishing around. In this case, as you guys can see over my shoulder, I'm fishing spatter dock or lily pads. So I know I don't have underwater grass or stuff like that. I don't have underwater vegetation in this area that's gonna hold on or snag onto my bait. So when I make that cast and that bait is starting to come down that water column, and I feel something different, I feel that the weight on the line is different, okay? I didn't notice a tap, I just didn't notice anything, I'll set that hook. Why is that? Because somehow that bass or that peacock has grabbed that fluke as it's descending down the water column. The third approach, or the third way of detecting the bite, is you make your cast, the fluke just begins its descent. You're not even working the fluke yet, and you feel that little, a little tap. Now, out here in the Everglades, that tap can mean a lot of things. It can mean an Oscar, a Mayan cichlid. It can mean a whole host of different type of fish. But when it comes to a peacock or a bass, for example, when you feel that tap, start picking up a little bit of that slack and start feeling for weight. Because sometimes you'll feel a tap and all of a sudden that line gets heavy. Then you go ahead and set the hook because the fish is on there. So again, I'm trying to keep things extremely simple, and I don't want to complicate things when it comes to bite detection. But if you take those 3 points that I just discussed and really hone in on that, it's going to help you bring more bass to the boat, because it's going to help you learn how to detect these bites better. All right, so that resulted into a little peacock, but let me walk you guys through that bite. So here's what happened. The bass, or the peacock bass right now, they're not on the bottom, they're not necessarily hitting the top, they're hitting anywhere between 2 to 4 feet in the water column. So what I'm doing with my fluke is, as soon as I cast and it hits the water, I'm engaging that spool, I'm letting the fluke quiver down anywhere between the 2 to 4 feet mark, and then I begin my twitches. Now, if you fished a fluke before, a fluke is very erratic. So every twitch, it's doing something different. Sometimes it'll dive down a little deeper. Sometimes, depending on the orientation of the nose, it might come up the water column. It's a very unpredictable type of bait. So in that case, the peacock, I don't know if you guys noticed, it tapped me hard. I went ahead and did a sweep set to see if I could catch it, but then it let it go. But in peacock fashion, it came back. So when I went to work the bait again, I felt a harder tap, I felt the weight, and that's when I set the hook. Just like that, it's a big bass. Look at this one. Biggest bass of the day, I can tell you that. Let me go ahead and let this guy go. And I'm going to explain to you how I detected the bite on that one. All right, so let me walk you guys through how that nice bass hit that fluke. Over my shoulder, you're going to see that tree right there. There's lily pads and then that tree. So remember, I talked to you guys about the characteristics of the fluke, which is I'm fishing it anywhere between 2 to 4 feet. So I went ahead, made my initial cast. I went ahead and moved the rod tip once. Usually when I do that, it causes it to dive. When I went to retrieve just a little bit to do my second movement or my second tap, the line just got real heavy. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it, but I start to retrieve a little bit, and then I notice that my line is swimming out towards the middle of the canal. I go ahead and rear back, set the hook, and it was that nice fish. All right, so hopefully you guys got something out of this video. I did my best to be very simple in my explanation. I have a feeling I went a little bit overboard with trying to explain line detection. But the point that I'm trying to make throughout that video is everything begins with the cast. You take your cast. As soon as your bait is touching that water, okay, you become a line watcher. Okay, you pay attention to your line characteristics. If you're fishing a weightless type of a bait, okay, you want to have some slack on the line. Even if you're fishing a weighted bait, like a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, you want to have a little bit of slack. Not a lot of slack, just a little bit of slack. You don't want that line straight, okay? You want a little bit of slack so that you could read the line. Any changes on that line, any taps, any movements, something that's just out of the ordinary, start reeling in and set that hook, okay? Like I tell my kids and my clients, hook sets are free. If you detect the bite, set the hook. If there was nothing there, big deal. But if there was, there's a good chance you could land it. So again, hook sets are free, guys. Practice, practice, practice. Read that line. Don't just cast and forget about things, okay? Because trust me, a lot of these bites happen when that bait is coming down that water column. Those fish are grabbing it, holding on to it for a few seconds, and then they'll spit it out. But the angler never paid attention, okay? So pay attention to it. And again, hopefully the information was helpful. Like this video, share this video, better yet, subscribe, become part of this community if you haven't done so yet. Hit those notifications because I'll be dropping another video soon. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon. Take care of yourself.